Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Jim Thompson and Douglas Mackenzie here again to tell you about one of our cronies from around the Burns world. Hi Jim, how you doing?
Doing great, Douglas. Enjoying life.
Good. Glad to hear it. Folks, tonight's guest is another of our videos from the Jimmy Gibson archive. In our last episode, we gave you an interview with Joe Kennedy, and it was really well received. So I'm quite sure you're going to enjoy this video as well. Cronies everywhere. The subject of tonight's video is Phil Todd. I knew Phil through going to Ayrshire Association meetings. Jim, maybe you can tell us a bit more about Phil?
I was introduced to Phil by Sandy Drain and Joe Kennedy at Busby Hill. I used to go up to Busby Hill quite often as a guest at basically Sandy Drain, and I got to know Phil quite well. And then when Joe started the nights, the Friday nights at the Bachelors Club to restart the old debate society way back, just at the turn of the century actually, Phil would go there. And to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever met a more knowledgeable Burnsian. But Joe was Phil was an old miner, and he was probably the most humble individual I've ever met as well. He knew his stuff, but unless you asked him, you didn't know he knew his stuff. And he had a great impact on that Friday night. And I know that Jimmy Gibson, who were grateful to Jimmy for taking these videos. Jimmy videoed him there as well. A lovely man, a great Burnsian, and I'm delighted that we're actually exposing him to the public.
Thanks, Jim. Well, folks, there's not much more to say. Phil in this video tells his own story. He tells us about his life with Robert Burns. The interviewer on this occasion is Joe Kennedy, and Jimmy Gibson does all the camera work. Thank you.
Right, it's Wednesday, 3rd of November, 1999. And we're here tonight in the village of Springside in deepest Ayrshire, where tonight I'm going to be talking to Phil Todd, a man who has spent his life immersed in the works of Robert Burns. First of all, Phil, it's good to see you looking so well again after your recent illness. You're keeping a lot better.
Thank you.
I know for a fact you're 82 years young, Phil, but what I'd like to do tonight is take you right back to your childhood first. You were born more or less here in the village of Springside. Can you tell us a wee bit about your early life in your childhood?
Actually, I wasn't born in Springside. I was born in a miner's row, which sits about a mile north of Crosshouse, Knockentibber area. And I was born there on the 21st August in 1917. There was 19 houses in the row, and it consisted of what we called a button bend, which is a room and kitchen. And it was sort of primeval conditions because there was no bus, but they walked to Crosshouse railway station, and it was using transport to get to Kilmarnock or wherever we were going. And although it was a sort of private life, you were more or less, you just knew the people that you stayed with aside in the roads. Everything else was shut up,
Close-knit community.
Close-knit community. And I went to Crosshouse school.
I was just going to ask you, your early education was at Crosshouse School?
At Crosshouse School. I went there when I was 5 years of age, and I left it when I was 14. I left the school on the 21st of August, which was my 14th birthday in 1931.
And for there you went into the bits.
I was in the pit on the Monday.
I remember you telling me about your father asking you what you wanted to do.
Yes.
And you told him you were going, wanted to get in the pits.
Aye.
What was his answer to you, if I remember right?
He says,
They'll give you.
my wife got a silly in the family anyway, so there is somebody silly enough in the family to do that. But it was more or less sort of that was it. It was the bits of the brickwork and the lashes, it was farm service. Or that was in Mortals and Kilmarnock and that, you know. But nevertheless, I wouldn't say that it was a waste of time, because it was there when I started working in the pits that I saw what friendship and solidarity meant. And one of the things that always intrigued me was the knowledge that these people had, Robert Burns.
This was, of course, this was still the private mines in the days, Phil.
Oh yes.
Before
Yes.
nationalisation.
The pit belonged to what they called South Street Portage Limited, who had also had a brickwork at Bonneton in Kilmarnock. And it was mainly clay, but to make bricks and tub and sinks, you know, at that time. But as I say, the solidarity of the pits was something which I always treasure. It was hard days, but nevertheless, to enable you to come through the hard privation which it caused, this comradeship was always there. And I think that's what brought me on to believing in Robert Burns. He, in the house, excuse me, in the house at that time, nearly all the houses in the Raw, when you came to their house, there was 2 books there. There was a Burns book and a Bible. And these men could tell you all about Burns, what you wanted to know about Burns on me. Because I've always made it my point when I'm talking about Burns to people. If everybody you meet in that tells you they know all about Burns, don't believe them.
Suffer them in silence.
Yes, because here we are 200 years after his death, actually, and we're still learning yet, and we still will learn. But it's nice to know about this man, because this man has left a wealth, and he has left something which I think would cure a lot of the illnesses which beset the world today.
Certainly would.
And I would say to especially to children, or youth, young men and young women, probably in later life they'll maybe go abroad. And there's one thing for sure, when you go abroad and you tell them that you come from Ayrshire, no matter where it is in the globe, you're guaranteed the first thing will ask you, do you know anything about Robert Burns?
Certainly will, enough to have experienced that myself.
And I would say to children and youth, young people, if they take up the philosophy of Robert Burns, then I think the world would be a better place to live in.
Do you think it was the comradeship and the brotherhood that Burns preached that attracted him to the mining community? Do you think that the two
Yes,
of them were
of course. The views that Robert Burns had, the views that he had of life, certainly attracted to them, because Robert Burns wrote for the people. We are the people that Robert Burns was concerned about. Robert Burns wasn't concerned with Nabbery or any of this. Robert Burns was concerned about the people of his own class. And there's so many great things you can say about him. But I think one of the greatest things about him is that his philosophy, it banishes this class distinction. Because if we take his life, he went to Edinburgh and he met the aristocrats of Edinburgh, and these people became in the same level as himself. The outstanding example, in my opinion, was of course the Glencairn. We met this Glencairn, the Earl of Glencairn. And some critics will tell you that Burns did this to further his own example, but that's not true. Robert Burns didn't go to Glencairn, Glencairn came to him. And he was quite at home with these people. And I think that probably endeared the Burns to the mining class and to the working class at
I
large.
think when Cairn come down to meet Burns at his own level.
That's it. There's a way with this class distinction. And the very fact that these people took on Burns, took him on, they actually took him on, you know, because they didn't know what to expect here. They went along to the understood that he was a man, he had uncommon talent. He was a man who was way before his time. And that endeared him to him, and probably, as it came to, and later generations come along, especially mining generations and people at our time, probably this is the magnetic power that brings Burns to us. Is his radical opinions.
Yes, of course.
And I think that Burns was, the philosophy of Robert Burns wasn't taught the way it should have been.
No.
In fact, I'm happy to say that today it's being taught in the schools more than ever it was in my day, because in my day, the only thing I can remember when I was at the school was one of his songs, "What Were Down the Coal Blast."
That's right.
Because we had a schoolmaster who just ignored Burns. And I think it would cleanse an awful lot of the feeling in our country today if people could get the philosophy of Robert Burns. In fact, the advent of our new parliament in Scotland, I would look to them to try and remedy an awful lot of the things that have been said about Burns. I mean, Burns himself knew there was something wrong with the situation, with the life that these people had to live. His own education alone showed you. When he had to a week at the school and a week in the farm, and when his brother gave him a time about. I mean, it was a kind of sporadic education. It wasn't an education which is sustained in the manner as it is today.
I think we all looked to his father for that full.
His father didn't get the accolade that he deserved, because his father was a wonderful man. His father was determined to hold the family together, because in those days, whenever they became age, they were farmed out to farmers, etc. And Burns' father was determined to hold his family together. He could even walk into Ayr to a library and bring books home.
That's right.
And teach them the basics of education.
They had the foresight to appoint the young John
Yes.
Butler to.
Yes. And I think this is one of the phenomenal things about Burns is Murdoch. Murdoch said when he was talking about the two brothers, Tim and Gilbert, that Burns, if it came to nominating who would be the man, Gilbert, it showed you how he could be deceived.
It certainly did. It certainly did.
With that.
Just while we're on the subject of brothers, I've heard you many times, Phil, talking about your own brother John. He was a victim of the 1926 strike.
Yes, that's right.
He was
He
an
took an
activist.
active part in the union. And after the 1926 strike, like thousands like him, he was banished to the pits. His name was, they wouldn't give him a job in the pits, and he immigrated to Canada in 1929. I can remember him going away, and I can remember him saying to my father and mother, if I'm declared a millionaire when I get to the side, he said, I'll never be back here after I'd come through. And I kept a correspondence with him right up to he died in Canada. And he always said, don't let Andy ever say, Phil, that I went to Canada, I came to Canada. He says, I was exiled to Canada.
Forced.
But there was thousands of people like him. And to show you the man, he was the man actually who put me in Burn, because when I was a boy at school, when he came home from the pit, he used to get the book out, and in a sort of photographic memory, he could memorise it all, you know. And the funny thing about it is, he went there in 1929, and in 1931, he sent in the Toronto Times, and his photos in the front, he gave the mortal memory Toronto Burn Club. And he never had spoken about Burn Club while he was in this country. And he was a classic example of the system. You see, in Burns, they come through the same thing.
Of course it did,
Because when they were at Loch Lee, threatened with the partner, And how well Burns places it if you read one of the passages is in the Twa Dugs. I've noticed your laird's good day, aye, and money's the time my heart's been way. To see Pierre Bunny's scant a cash with him and thole the factor's snash. He'll stamp, he'll threat, he'll curse and swear. He'll apprehend and pound their gear, while they look on, and aspects humble, and hear it all, and fear and tremble.
Only Burns could describe it as good as that.
Burns said himself that his young sister, Isabella, she just got into hysterics when she saw the letters carrier coming. And these are the things, I think, which is endeared us to Burns. Every day I thank Robert Burns because what he has done for me is the friendship all over the world. I've met people all over the world. And despite the anomalies that arise in the Burns Federation, or the Burns movement, 99% of the Burns people are good people.
I found that myself.
There's no question about that. They are good people.
I found that myself.
We have people in every walk of life in there. And it's the same in every organisation. There's always some snag. There's no doubt the vastness of the Burns Federation couldn't run without meeting snags.
Of course I couldn't.
The people that we have today, and the people that I can remember going back, I'm eternally grateful to these people for carrying on the Burns Federation, because when they're doing that, they're carrying on the philosophy of Robert Burns.
Yeah, indeed.
Because it's this class distinction thing, how Burns analysed it all and sorted it all out. And what he was doing, he wasn't asking for anything out of the ordinary here. That people should be this class higher than others. Because in the Bible it tells us, in the face of God, all men are equal. And Burns was only holding them to that when he said these things.
A man's a man for all that.
A man's a man for all that. And another thing, 3 wee words, which sums up the whole thing in my opinion: love one another.
That's it.
And he could talk about the fruits with people acting in that manner, independent to whatever level it's at, even in world politics or churches or whatever. And the beautiful picture he could paint of the life that he could envisage if these tenets and principles were practiced.
Only was here today, Phil.
The golden age will then revive. Each man will be a brother. In harmony we all shall live and share the earth together. And virtue trained and enlightened youth shall love his fellow creature, and future years shall prove the truth that man is good by nature. Then let us toast with 3 times 3 the dawn of peace and of liberty.
Simple words but powerful.
Simple, powerful words which I think would cure the ailments we're beset with today. War he detested. Some people will say, how can you say that? Robert Burns supported the French Revolution, and he supported the American War of Independence. But the reason he supported them because it was people fighting for their rights.
Justifiable.
Justifiable. They weren't fighting to make some arms traders rich.
Yeah.
What other wars was all about. And how he could describe the horror and the heartbreak that war could bring. In one of his poems, when wild war's deadly blast was blown, and gentle peace returning, leaving many a sweet babe fatherless, and many a widow mourning. I left the rank, the tented field, for long I'd been a lodger, my humble knapsack, all a wealth, a pair but one a soldier. And in the last stanza of the poem, he tells the worth and the truth about what war means. For gold the merchant ploughs the main,
Right.
the farmer grows the manna, but glory is the soldier's prize. The soldier's prize is honour.
Yeah.
The fair brave soldier ne'er despise, nor count him as a stranger. Remember, he's his country's stay in day and hour of danger. And these are the things the many things, the colourful things, which I think that Robert Burns deserves.
Sometimes picking out the one wee word, it's when he describes peace, he describes it as a gentle peace. It's a lovely wee word.
Gentle peace, how he could describe that. He supported the French Revolution simply because the people were fighting
Well, they're right.
to try and be allowed to believe in what was written in the scriptures.
That's correct.
That in the face of God all men are equal. He couldn't understand, he couldn't understand it too, and I think that's why he was kept in the twilight so long. Because you take it for probably more than a century after Robert Burns died, very seldom people like the churches. The church they didn't recognise Burns.
They still try to suppress him.
Still try to suppress him.
But sadly, that's the case in some places.
Of course it is.
Because
And despite it all, I can remember an old retired minister, Taylor, he called John Taylor. He was in his latter days and he was staying in the minister's home in Truden way back many years ago. And he said, supposing it was in the deepest hell, when I die, I'd like to meet Robert Burns. And it didn't go down very well at that time.
No, it wouldn't with it.
Because, and this man, he said, if Burns was alive today, there'd been absolutely no question he'd been the moderator of the General Assembly, because he knew this job. He was taught by his father. Religion was one of the main things in the Burns home, because it was good of someone to hold on to.
His letters and his poems, he quotes the Bible through it.
And I think his poems would lose a lot of their colour if he wasn't dealing with Bible quotations.
That brings me on nicely, Phil, to the Cotter Saturday night.
Yes.
I've heard you reciting it many times, and I know you always equate it with your father, your own father, coming home to the pit.
Yes.
And the picture that was painted, and I know the Cotter Saturday night means an awful lot.
Yes, exactly the same thing it would be with yourself, I suppose, Joe, seeing your father coming home to his work. And the Cotter Saturday night to me, of course this is conjecture, it's a matter of opinion again. Some people say, what's your favourite Burns poem? Well, the Cotter Saturday night to me means, because it's resurrecting the life that we led.
Family values.
Family values. Showing you the family values and thing. I mean, in the 4 words, that poem with 4 beautiful words for Goldsmith's elegy, which sums it up again. Let not ambition mock their useful toil, their heavenly joys and destiny obscure, nor grandeur mark with a disdaining smile the short and simple annals of the poor.
It's a beautiful poem. I've heard you recite
Beautiful poem. And as I say, the way you could describe it, the children coming out to meet their father coming in for his day's work, and the Saturday night what it consisted of, the family gathering. But there, the family together was the thing that Burns, the crowning glory of the man coming into his family at night, despite the obscure and the abject circumstances in which they lived. They could get great happiness out it, and he could go on even talking about when the family's getting together and the talk of the day, and how the young man coming to court the eldest daughter.
That's right. Something we've always done.
Something, that's
The young
right,
man's worries when he comes in.
and what it meant. And then the wise counsel he gives in this thing, because we've all experienced this, I've experienced it with your family, and you're apprehensive, are they going to be happy? What's going to happen here?
Is this the right one for them?
Yes, that's the point. And the happiness, how they were told, and the heartbreak that can come for young people getting together and going to live their life together.
It's very prominent nowadays.
And it says, happy love, oh happy love, where love is found. Oh heartfelt raptures, bliss beyond compare. I've faced much this weary mortal round, and sage experience must be this declare. If heaven a draught of heavenly pleasure spare one cordial in this melancholy vale, 'tis when a useful, modest, loving pair in others' arms breathe out the tender tale beneath the milk-white thorn that scents the evening gale. And then he goes, talks about how faithless love, how severe it can be in the family. Is there in human form that bears a heart, a wretch, a villain, lost to love and truth, that can with studied sly and sneering art betray sweet Jenny's unsuspecting youth? Cursed on his perjured art's dissemblance with her honour, virtue, conscience all exiled. Is there no pity, no relenting ruth, points to the parents fondling o'er their child, and paints the ruined maid and their destruction wild?
I read it about it. It was a genius film.
How this man could put it together and make it mean, and the simplicity his lines together. And this is another of the great things on a man. The simple way he could put these things down, and when he said these things, there's nothing you could add to it. There's nothing you can take away from it. There it is.
My favourite part is the supper, Phil, just when the supper's finishing, the cheerful.
Yes. You see, and how to conform with the way of living at that time, warning his family.
Mm-hmm.
Your master and your mistress command, or warn to obey. And mind your duties when riding on, and near go to 60 joke or play, and oh, be sure to fear the Lord alway. Mind your duty duly morn and night, lest in temptation's path ye gang astray. Implore his counsel and assisting might. They never thought in vain, but thought the Lord all right. If that's no Christian virtue, I don't know what is.
He goes on and quotes the Bible through it.
Quotes the Bible, you see, and this is the point. After the supper, the cheerful supper done with serious face, they round the aisle form a circle way. There's a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm.
You can see them all sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And the sire turns over with patriarchal grace the big whole Bible against his father's pride. That's painted in colours, it's indelible.
Even just laying aside the bonnet, you can imagine within that living room with him. That's
And then, you see, let us worship God, he says. With Psalm, yeah. I'm telling you about them singing their hymns, they tune their artless notes in simple guise, they tune their heart by far the noblest aim. And then it gives you these with 6 sermons in one stanza, 9 lines.
Mm-hmm.
And Burns can tell you practically the whole curriculum of Christianity as we know it, and as even it's preached today in the churches of today. Perhaps the Christian volume is the theme. How guiltless blood for a guilty man was shed. There, that is surely the affront of Calvary.
That's right.
Christ crucified. Guiltless blood for a guilty man was shed. How he who bore in heaven the second name had not put on earth to lay his head. There, the thing we'll be celebrating shortly, Christmas.
Yes, aye. Mm-hmm.
Christ born in the manger, no room at the inn,
Mm-hmm.
nowhere on earth to lay his head.
Only he could describe it like that. Only he could do it.
How his first followers and servants fed the precept says they wrote to Maryland. There you have the disciples going forth into the world to preach the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
How he who alone in Patmos vanished, there's no doubt he's alluding here to the book of Revelations, where John the Divine is the principal man in the book of Revelations. And he was exiled to the Isle of Patmos. How he who alone in Patmos vanished, saw in the sun a mighty angel stand, and heard great Babylon's doom pronounced by heaven's command. Then, kneeling down to heaven's eternal King, the Father and the husband praise, Hope springs exulting on triumphant wing, that thus we all shall meet in future days. There our basking uncreated rays, no more to sire shed the bitter tear. Together hymning our Creator's praise in such society, yet still more dear, while circling time moves round in an eternal sphere.
That's my wife Susan's favourite part.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Circling time moves round in the eternal sphere.
It's a paragon of piety and fidelity.
It certainly is, certainly is. And yet we still have people feel, out of sheer ignorance, describe him as some sort of drunken heathen.
Well, you
And
see,
they've never read them.
well, I would wonder. He said himself, as you know, God knows I'm no saint.
Mhm.
I've many sins and faults to answer for. But if I could, and I sincerely believe I try, I would wipe away all tears from all eyes. Jesus surely know the words of a libertine or a crook, because that stanza I was quoting there for you, the quote said that finished up with saying this day, John, who this visited with this mighty angel, and heard the voice of God saying, there'll be no more death, no more sorrow. And Christ shall wash away all tears from all eyes. So if that wouldn't bring home the message,
Of course it does.
I just don't know.
I know when people say to me, oh you're a Burns man, he was nothing but a drunken heathen.
Yes.
And can you prove to me that he wasn't? I always say, aye, read the Court of Saturday.
That's right.
And that's the argument finished.
Aye.
That's the
You
argument.
see, Mr. Democ was estranged for due of course to the kind of political, the radical views of Burns, you know, because Mr. Democ had 3 daughters married in French generals, French
That's correct. Aye.
top men in the French army. But nevertheless, when she was sent a copy of the Court of Saturday Night,
Changed his life.
it just changed her life altogether. Because I don't think one can ever describe it in the manner that Burns does describe it. Wally Ross, the great Wally Ross, you remember, he was the Scottish Secretary, the MP for Kilmarnock. Ross was one of the finest Burnses, and I had ever the pleasure to hear. And he used as his example of the greatness of Robert Burns, he used the man was made to mourn.
Oh, aye.
He thought
Uh-huh.
that everything in there which was anti to working class, and how Burns described it. See, and the thing is this again, the greatness of the man. Now Burns, as we know, died when he was 37 years of age. And in this poem, well, I'm talking a man at 80. You imagine there's few people in this poem, but there's no.
No.
Because he says, one evening as I wandered forth along the banks of Ayr, I spied a man. You imagine that Burns saw this man on the other side of the water and was talking to him.
It's the same man growing old.
It's the same man growing old and talking back. Burns was talking back to the young man.
You know, I never knew that myself. Till you described that to you.
Aye.
Explained that to me one night, Paul. That's the first I knew that.
I spied a man whose aged steps seemed weary one with care. His brow was furrowed o'er with time, and hoary was his hair. And he asked him the question, the same way as Burns analysing life. Young stranger, whither wanderest thou? Began the Reverend Sage. And you have to keep this in your mind, that he's the young stranger and he's the Reverend Sage.
That's right.
This thirst for wealth thy step constrained, or youthful pleasures raise, or haply pressed by grief and care, too soon thou hast begun to wander forth with me to mourn the miseries of man. And back to the life of toil that these people had to endure. If Robert Burns hadn't been born, that Burns family would have passed into ignominy.
Oblivion.
Never been heard of.
Nobody would ever have heard of it.
That's why. And the sun that o'erhung John Moore, he always wondered, he knew there's something wrong here. The sun that o'erhangs yon moor outspread and far and wide, where hundreds labour to support the haughty Lord's blade. I've seen yon weary winter sun twice, 40 times begun. And each time it has added proof that man was made to more. Many and sharp the numerous ills and woven in our frame, more pointed still we make ourselves regret, remorse and shame. And man, here's back to the Bible again here, man whose heaven erected face. Surely that is a comforting statement.
It is indeed,
Whose heaven erected face, the smiles of love adorn and end the tragedy. Man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands more. And here we are in 1999, looking back in 2 centuries. My God.
You look at some of these disgraces we see in television today, in some of these countries, Phil.
Yes.
I wonder what would have wrote about some of these.
Imagine this beautiful wee country just there, we can practically see it again day for Irvine there, Ireland.
One of my favourite countries.
Torn to shreds.
I know.
It's a shame. And Burns felt deeply for this. He could never understand it. How that this man's inhumanity to man.
I've often said, as I say in one of my immortal memories, instead of these great big manifestos in Parliament, sometimes I'd like to just walk in and walk round the room of Parliament and put a Burns book in front of each of them.
Yes.
Would that not just solve the problems?
It would.
And just leave them
See,
to
that was one thing Rose did. Willie Rose carried the banner, because Willie Rose could get up in the House of Commons and whatever subject was being debated, Rose could quote Burns. And you can do that, no matter what you're talking about, life or politics, religion, you talk about it, Burns is an answer to that.
Yeah, indeed.
And Rose could let them kind of know in a certain manner. And as I say, the advent of this new Parliament in Edinburgh that we have today, I don't know what Burns would have thought about it.
No, I don't
I
know.
really just don't know how he'd have looked at it. He detested what happened, the Union of the Crowns. But it didn't mean to say that Robert Burns wasn't a Union Universalist. He was.
Oh no.
Because man to man the world door.
I think it was a treacherous way it was done that got
The treacherous way it was
the back
done.
door way it was done.
Aye. Oh, that I had seen the day that Treason could sell us. My old grey he'd been laying in clay with Bruce and Loyal Wallace. With pith and power to my last day will mark this declaration. Bought and sold for English gold, bachelor rogues in a nation. How he could set up.
It's an ill-made, isn't it?
Yes, and I think what would make him more severe about that was, right in his own doorstep, the biggest offender was the LSD. He was the biggest offender in this business.
He was one of them.
He got well oiled for it, you see. And Burns knew this. But these are the things that has brought me and made my life upper pleasant. Simply because when you get into company,
It's always a good
if you're fortified by a bit of Burns, then you can take part in the conversation.
That's right. Okay, you can.
Because it's so simple. It's written down so simple to understand. And that was the reason even the famous Community Edition, which contains 32 poems, it doesn't contain 1,000 part of Burns' work, as far as I'm concerned. But it was the foundation.
That's it. It was a starting point.
The starting point. It had to be a starting point.
That's it.
And the amazement. Every day you look at Burns' book or something and you read it and there's something else to it. You think, how, where did this man start? What did he start?
That's right. I know. And yet you had a very limited life you had to.
Yes.
He hardly ever put for here in Edinburgh.
That's
and
right.
Tours, but I mean,
Aye.
he wrote about things universal and he was hardly ever out.
These people, I mean, I think he picked up a lot of his knowledge when he was in Dumfries at the Globe Inn. At that time, Dumfries was the coaching station, of course, and people coming from abroad all came to Liverpool at that time and moved up and annexed Dumfries. And the woman that was in it, Mrs. Sister, she used to send for him.
Right.
And that's where he got an awful lot of information. People, you know, travelling back and for it. But still no, it stuck to him.
Oh, I know.
And Magellan Straits, he talked about the Magellan Straits, and the people wanting it. The people in the boat didn't ken the folk in Mauchline.
That's right.
So as I say, we were the same out at the roads there.
He even wrote about the American slavery.
American slavery.
A man that,
And how he described it.
Irish farmer, he wrote about the
Yes.
Virginia, the
Aye, Virginia, aye. So as I say, it's I'm thankful every day, and one of the most things I'm most thankful for is the friendship. Here we're sitting here tonight, probably would never have known you.
That's right, if it wasn't for this man
Burns.
That's right.
And the friendship that exudes for the man, and and as I say, and I must emphasise this again, that the Burns movement today, as far as I see them, they're working harder to get us into its perspective than and that's no disrespect to the people
In the past.
in the past, because there's some great Burns in some.
Our very own Jimmy Gibson's soon going to be the leader.
Jimmy, that's right. Well, you see, the thing is this.
Very deservedly.
The thing that makes it more important to me, Jimmy, and two or three the people who the hierarchy own it in the Burns movement today. These men are working for it, and they have worked for it,
They do.
and are on the right lines.
That's right.
And let us hope that in the advent of the new millennium, and it's the way I look at it today, the basic understanding of the Federation today is bound to improve.
Oh, yeah.
With people like this,
Oh,
Jimmy, and having on the
a
reins.
bit more dynamic now, a bit
Yes.
more further looking.
What they're doing, I think that fella the last night we met at Bedby Hill with Hugh Waters for Barhead, he said, his opinion, that we should move forward. But there's one thing, I don't care if they move for another 10 millenniums. They've got to come back to the basic of Burns.
Oh, I never lose that.
But it's
I don't think we should ever lose.
That's right. So as I say, these are the things that that's made me the.
Can I take you right back, Phil? I've heard you at many a Burns supper, getting up with no notes, and you do these absolutely marvellous immortal memories, and I've heard them many a time. Can you remember your very first immortal memory? I've always wanted to ask you that.
Yes.
Can you remember the first time you proposed the immortal memory?
First time I proposed to immortal memory was in a church in Stevenson.
Really?
And that's 62 years ago, I was 20 years
So you
old.
were 20 years old,
Yes.
was you?
That brother I was telling you went to Canada, he always told me, he says, now listen, don't ever get up and make a fool of yourself in front of a crowd and say about Burns unless you can do it. I was lucky, in a sense, having people like that in my house, Jimmy. And I was blessed with a retentive memory. But I remember doing that immortal memory, and I just spoke on the two basics that John, my brother, had spoken, was the Cotter's Hat Night and Man Was Made to Mourn.
That was it.
And there's an old minister, Dow, I don't know whether you've ever heard of him, he was a great man, great Burns. He was sitting that night and he came out of it by the street to me, "What age are you, son?" So I'm 20. He wanted me to go to Arna at Nickham.
Did he?
I said, I'm about to go to the pit in the morning.
Oh, jeez. You take your priorities right.
He says, you got it. And the Cotter's Saturday night, I could recite the Cotter's Saturday night at that time. He says, no, he says, there's 21 stanzas in it, and there's 9 lines in each stanza. He says, that's 181 lines. He says, I could give you an immortal memory in every one of these stanzas. Because there's not much in it, Jimmy. So as I say, sometimes you go to a Burns supper. Now, you can go to a Burns supper and they'll say to you, now listen, you have to do Tam O'Shanter, and you have to do Whole of All Spirit, and that's it.
That's usually the
There's Jimmy, there's an awful lot of Burns that stop in
submersed. It's no good.
Forgotten.
That's right. That's right.
that the Urban Royal Academy are doing a tremendous job, because these young children are reciting poems which some of the people have probably never heard, they went to burn suppers other days.
That's right.
I mean, how often do you hear it? You walked in the street, I was at burn supper last night, the day Tommy Shanta.
Oh, aye, aye.
You know, and in this village here, it was, Burns was at one time, at the time it was a mining community, it's kind of broke away from that new right now. Still Burns in the village. But another thing I always like to say is the Friday night you went to a burn supper and you're walking down the road on the Saturday morning, maybe going for a pint to the car. Oh, aye, where was you last night? I was at burn supper, you'd be a fooling last night.
No, aye, that's just...
This is the thing that I've
that's
tried to, and I don't know whether it's to my credit or no, but I've never come in to a burn supper drunk in my life.
No, no. Out of respect for Burns.
Out of respect for Burns.
Of course, aye.
And I've always tell these boys at the top table, when you're at the top table, you just don't do this.
No, that's right, that's right.
People are here to hear you. And I've seen some good ones being sung about, Jimmy.
Aye.
When, Joe.
I've seen people at burn suppers and they've missed what was actually going on because they've overindulged and they haven't actually quite enjoyed it.
Yes,
Can we turn to Busby Hall Burns Club, Phil?
yes.
I know that's you're the president
yes.
now for how many years?
24 years, 25.
And the club's 25 years old. You were a founder member along with Donald Perry. Is that
Yes.
you're the only two founder members left?
Andy Lusk.
And Andy Lusk. Aye.
Andy Lusk was one.
Tell me a wee bit of how you founded Busby Hall. How did it come
Well,
about?
I'll tell you how it happened. On a Sunday morning, Peter had his guest house.
That's the man who owned
Up
Busby Hall.
there,
Yes,
you know, at Busby Hall. You've been in Busby Hall, Jimmy. You've never been there. But on a Sunday morning, we used to walk up and they had the bar, you know, the pub.
Mhm.
And they'd have a big pot of soup
Mhm.
and Dunnell
Mhm.
and Hugh Roberts, 2 or 3 years. And I think it was Dunnell that said, I think we should have a Burns Club, boys.
There you go.
See?
Just,
So,
was Burns just getting talked about in the guest
and
house?
Burns had come up, of course.
Uh-huh.
And this night, Dunnell and Andy came to my house. Said, we're going to start a Burns Club. Oh. I said, oh aye. I wanted to be the president. Says, I will, we'll wait till Sunday morning, we'll talk about it up at Busby Hall. So there's 2 or 3 of me and I said to him, I said, well, there's only one condition here. And this is not to be a drinking club, it's a Burns Club we're going to have here. So we'll do it the right way, we'll get paid to rate it. Because I was at Quant with John Thompson, who was the director in the Dick Institute in Kilmarnock at that time. Okay then. So I went in and saw John, and he come out, sorted it all out for us. And some people, of course, the pessimists saying, oh, this will not last.
Defeatist.
Here it's got stronger and stronger and stronger. Simply because there was, and maybe whenever we're too heavy and numerically.
No.
But, see, but get Burns is among them.
Well, I'm a member, Phil, as well as being a member of Kilmarnock, and as Busby Hall Burns Club's awful close to my heart.
Yes.
It's 6 or 7 years I've been a member.
So, there it is, and it's went on from strength to strength. And I always say that it's nice to be respected as an official or a member of the Burns movement, and I admire people for that. But my thoughts were sitting in Busby Hall guest house, I could look out the window, and it just didn't apparently before I was born.
Really?
And I wanted to can see that row sitting and say, I wished it was there the roof.
Still there.
And the people in there could come up here to the Burns,
Oh,
Burns
right,
Club.
that would have been great to have
Because as I
these.
say, these men never spoke at Burns
No.
in their life.
No.
And that's what's endeared it to me, Jimmy. And I've continually harped at these boys to get into the movement, because we must have young people coming in.
Oh, you turn up at Busby Hall and the people just walk in the door, Phil, and down goes their name, and
That's it.
you've no hesitation crying them up, and it's such a multi-talented club. You've got Danny and Tom,
we're lucky,
you've got
we're-
Donald
oh,
and recite.
The late Jim Craig, as you know.
Secretary. I
Jim-
believe you vacated the presidency for 1 year for Jim, is that
That's
right?
right.
To let Jim be president.
Yes.
A great friend of yours too, Jim Craig.
Oh, aye. Oh, it's a big loss. But again, no been looking for any honour or anything like that. I mean, today, 1999 today, I have great hopes of the Burns movement.
Oh yes,
I really have.
seeing the things happening just now.
There are things happening in the Burns movement now which is going to be to the benefit of the Burns movement. And Burns, as I say, move with the times, but the basic philosophy of Robert Burns has got to be, everything's got to be built on that.
Oh, and the friendship.
You see, the accolades that Burns got from people, academics, professors, etc. Well, it proves to me that Burns wasn't a tuppenny backstreet singer.
Oh, no.
Because they just don't take these things up unless there's something in it for them. And one that always intrigued me was a man, Robert Green Ingersoll. He was a brilliant scholar. He was a lawyer, an American.
Aye, as you talked about him before.
His father was a Methodist minister, and his mother was Scotch. And he said, oft as a boy, I sat by my mother's knee, while she recited and sang from the poems and songs of Robert Burns. And for his sake and hers, I loved the country of my mother. And if ever these two great nations, America and Britain, become estranged, Burns, and only Burns, will teach them that they're of one race, the human race. And when Robert Burns said, it's coming yet for all that man to man the world over shall brothers be for all that, Robert Burns was not talking about a secular brotherhood.
Worldwide.
Burns was talking about a brotherhood which embraces the whole of human race, whole of the human race, independent of class, colour or creed. And to finish, this is lines that was left at the cottage at the turn of the century by a young, comparatively unknown English poet, a boy by the name of John Taylor. And he wrote, O Burns, the noble, the deathless and divine, here in this cottage to thy memory dear we sit and ponder over the life of thine that oft has made us shed the silent tear. Tonight, upon the stormy wave and in every land on earth, we human mortals think of thee and the land that gave thee birth. And Scotland, should thy fields once more be plunged in martial strife, as Scotch Wahey with Wallace bled, shall rouse the dead to life. Robert Burns, great men, leave footprints in the sands of time. Robert Burns, in my opinion, has left footprints which will never wash away.
Certainly has.
Which will be a comfort to the people of today and also to generations yet unborn.
Certainly will.
For honest poverty that hangs his heat and all that the coward slave were passing by, we dare be poor for all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that, the rank is but the guinea stand, the man's the goud for all that. What the one
When all son was in an issue, and he came out with his pick plays one, Steve, what's going on, Paul? And I tell him, Steve, right, up he goes. And they're shouting, he says, and old son, I can see him yet, he's just sitting with old Clive Pipe and looked at it. He says, let him sit, he'll be glad to come down. Well, he came down. And old son just walked past him and says, come on with me. And he made, and young son made, he said, in here, in the skull. He takes him into Beatty's room. And Beatty says to me, he says, you know, it's a terrible thing, Mr. Fulton, he says, and I'm so glad to see him all right. So he says, It says, I'm going to be down the road. He says, I'm just off the next year. There's no bastard I need to watch it, so know this. He said, I'm going out of here. He says, when I go out, it's what they call the master's room, you see, lock your door. And the words he said was, and lay on him as long as Christ allows you. that was the sympathy. So,
I think it was one more thing I would like to mention. Busby Hill have got a great association with another Burns Club in Fife, Bow Hill
yes.
Burns Club, Bow Hill People's Burns Club.
Yes.
And I know every year when the visitation, we visit them one year and they come here, but they were here just a few weeks ago. That is another thing that's awful close to your heart, keeping that association going.
Yes, of
How
course.
did that come about, Phil?
Well, that came about, what we're talking about, back to the mining community. Fife was all mining. And there were everybody, there were renegades, actually, as far as politics was concerned. And that's where it all comes from. Now, they have three
Honorary members.
Honorary members.
Honorary presidents.
Sir George Sharp is the Fife representative in Brussels. The man who's going to give the Immortal Memory this year is Harry Ewing, Sir Harry Ewing.
He's the second.
But I don't think there are no 12 fucking people called Sir Harry, it's Harry Ewing. He's giving the Immortal Memory, he's the other one, and myself.
And yourself, that's the only three.
So, as I say,
I was going to say you're in good company, Phil, but I would say they're in good company.
they're in good company too, that's right. Well, we seem to have hit it up.
You certainly have.
But I think the last time they were here was
Just a
one of
few
the best next to
A few weeks ago I attended that night and it was a
Tommy
Hopton.
Hopton said, says, Phil, says it's getting stronger.
It was a smashing night.
Well, this is what I'd like to see happening in the future. At the advent of the new millennium again, Burns, and Burns, because I remember Thomas Beecham, the great music conductor, he said if he was the power, he would pass a law where Mozart, people would have to listen to Mozart for a quarter hour every day. Well, if I had the power, I would make it, it would be Burns.
Often do.
So I hope that what I've said tonight is all right.
It certainly has, Phil. Thanks very much
Thank
again.
you.
Phil, there's never a time I haven't left with my spirits uplifted and my life enriched, and thanks very much for sharing
Thank
this
you.
with us tonight.
Thank you
very
very
much
much.
indeed.
Well, folks, that was Phil Todd telling you about his life with Robert Burns. I'm sure you really enjoyed that, and we are really grateful, as we said, to Jimmy Gibson, who kept a hold of these videos and allowed us to put them out in this format. Any thoughts on that video, Jim?
It was absolutely, it was just Phil Todd. It was what he, that video reflected the man, and I'm glad it was not with Jimmy. I'm glad Jimmy was doing all the camera work, but I'm glad it was Joe that was doing it, because him and Joe had a wonderful relationship. In fact, Joe spoke at the man's funeral, and I remember going and standing. It was quite a nice day, and we were in Dreghorn at the cemetery, and Joe did a couple of Burns things there, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was a wonderful. I mean, funerals are usually dour things. This wasn't. This was a celebration of a life well lived, and it was worthwhile.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, folks, for watching. And we hope you enjoyed listening to Phil Todd telling us about his life with Robert Burns. Thank you.